Hey friends, welcome back to this week's episode of the podcast, which is going to be on ayahuasca. So I'm going to just dive right in and cut the fluff, and here we go. So it was shortly after my psilocybin journey. Deb is the woman who facilitated that for me, and she had reached out to me and said, hey, she was going to have a women's retreat and asked if I would be interested in joining. And I was like, absolutely. So put me on that freaking list and put me on top because I want to be there. So yeah, I had never done ayahuasca. I was pretty unfamiliar. I really didn't know much about it at all. But I just said yes. So it was a really long, exhausting journey. It was in the middle of the Sacred Valley in Peru in a little town called Pisac. Basically, it's 45 minutes southeast-ish, I think. I don't have a map on me, of Machu Picchu. And it's absolutely breathtaking. So I booked a flight from Philly to Miami, Miami to Lima, which is an incredible city. I would love to explore more of it someday. I was only there for 24 hours, but very vibrant, full of life, big nightlife, just buzzing with energy. So I went to Lima and then into Cusco, which was kind of like what I would consider their suburbia. And then from Cusco, took a taxi into Pisac, breathtaking countryside, truly some of the most beautiful landscapes I've ever seen. If you get car sick, you might because there's a lot of winding roads around mountains. It's really like it felt like Middle Earth, truthfully. It's like a place I've never seen before, and words don't give it justice, but if you ever get the chance to go, go. So we were going to be at this villa, and we had to hike down a mountain to even get there. It was insane. Like 10 women, like trudging down a mountain with like 300 bags of luggage. It was a total vibe, but we did it. Um, and we landed in this gorgeous villa with an incredible landscape. And I'm going to post pictures on my Instagram because truly what I'm saying does not give justice. And there are going to be no filters on the photos, but just eat your heart out. It is so beautiful. So yeah, the preparation and diet was almost identical to that of my mushroom experience. So, cut out sugar, cut out really anything processed, and then just kind of watched anything that was a high vibrating thing. Like I avoided any kind of like true crime, anything in politics. Like I just didn't watch anything, and I just made sure I was getting enough sleep, making sure I was creating movement. Not enough, but I was doing it. Yeah, so we get there, and first night was kind of like an introduction night. I was able to get to know a little bit about some of the ladies who were there and understand a little bit of their why. And some of them had done ayahuasca before, some of them hadn't. And I really had no clue what to expect. So, yeah, we get settled in our rooms. Everything had kind of like an itinerary flow to it, but it wasn't hardcore strict, but it was just like, it was really helpful having an itinerary because ayahuasca is an extremely physical medicine, extremely physical. Some people don't react to it the way that I react to it, the way that my friends had reacted to it. Um, some people think that mushrooms are a little more challenging in terms of the way they hit the body. I found ayahuasca to be very intense, very. Um, so I'm just gonna like bleed into my first ceremony. So we are inside of this structure called a maloka, and we're all kind of in a circle around this big maloka. And there is a shaman woman there named Delcy, and she truly is a medicine woman, and she'd been doing this her whole life, and her family members before her. So this is her lineage, right, of medicine. And um, it was just kind of like I was consistently curious. I was curious about all the other women who were there. I was curious about Delcy. I was curious about like what the experience was going to be. And I think that helped me mentally whilst on ayahuasca, just to kind of keep an open mind because of how physical a medicine it is. And when I say physical, again, we're inside this room, we're all laying in a circle. We all kind of took a vow of noble silence beforehand. No music. There during ceremony, there was no light. Um, I don't think that there's anything in this like that I'm divulging that would be inappropriate or anything like that. This is just like the kind of facts of it all. So there was no light during the ceremony. Before that, there was light on, but all lights were off. We were all sitting in a circle. We all had noble silence. Um, we all kind of had comfortable clothes on, brought a few different layers just in case if you got hot or cold. We all had several like alpaca blankets, wool blankets all around us. And it was pretty comfortable in terms of like our setup because we were going to be there a very long time. We had pillows, the works, but also buckets to vomit in. So those were also there. Everybody has a puke bucket. Um, so yeah, um, before we took the medicine, we were saged. We all had a beautiful meditation. We set an intention, inner. Um, we were all kind of shown special attention by Delcy and by the women who were facilitating it. And it felt very much like a ceremony. So, like, we all one by one went up, and the ayahuasca is served in like as a tea. It's a very dark liquid. It's very thick. It's very barky, is the best way I would describe it. Kind of like a bark flavored tea with a hint of licorice. Um, and yeah, bottoms up. So as soon as you take it, you kind of got to lay back down and let it do its thing. And it truthfully impacted everyone differently. There was one girl who I felt so bad. Within minutes after taking it, she would purge. And I knew it was her every time. I'm like, there she is again. I should have started taking meds. But within minutes she would purge, and I think she's someone who had taken it before, so it was like no big deal to her. She already knew what to expect, but it did kind of induce some anxiety because I don't like throwing up. I don't know anybody who does, but like I really am like, oh no. So yeah, night one, I take the tea, I go and I lie back down, and it's like this cramping kind of took over, and I was belching a lot, and I was like just weirdly like always making these, it was really pretty unattractive, I guess. I don't really know another word to describe it. If you're someone who is like sensitive to hearing bodily functions, this may be more of a challenge for you, because people were burping. I'm pretty sure I farted. Who knows? I was like really unwell. And the only thing that would bring me comfort was to kind of like rock like this, but it was very, very painful. I almost felt like I had food poisoning. So, all of that while tripping. So, it's very intense. The first night, the visuals that I had were not relating to anything that I was sensing. So it just sort of felt like noise to me. Like I was hearing a lot of noise. I actually had a moment of like internal panic, like, oh no, like, what if I'm stuck like this? I knew I wasn't, but like when you're having these intense visuals and like I saw a casino in my head and I was seeing pinball machines and things that didn't really make any sense. And I was really like having just a questionable experience. It wasn't a bad trip. I just questioned what the visuals had to do with anything in my life because they were just wacky. And I felt like they were like everything was a fun house effect. So That was just kind of night one for me. It was just a lot of noise, pinball machines. It felt like I was in a casino and I was hearing like money and ching, 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 and clang, 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 clang. And it wasn't stopping. And it was from probably like 9 p.m. all the way until like 6:30 in the morning. Um, a lot, right? But there is a lot to unpack there, and there is meaning behind the noise. But at the time, I was just like rolling with the punches and just letting it do its thing, which was really hard to surrender to. So that was night one for me. Um, Second ceremony comes around, and oh yeah, like day two was like really hard. I was just tired and exhausted, and I ended up like throwing up, but not until I stood up to walk out of the Maloka after everybody else had been doing it the whole time. And mine was like the grand finale. I was like, hey, I ended up like running to the bathroom. It's disorienting, and that's what made me actually throw up was the just like dizziness. Like I felt like I had been on a ride. Then I was like, then I felt really good afterwards. But yeah, I was really sensitive to it. So the medicine was just really intense inside of my system. Um, the second ceremony was a little more easy for me to grasp what the messages were. So, same thing in terms of us being in the Maloka, all of us together, noble silence, shaman doing shaman things. I don't want to disclose too much because I feel like it was what Delcy was doing was really magical and beautiful and specific to each person. So I'm not sure what others' experiences were. But for me, I felt like she was calling to my ancestors, calling forth the energy that is within me. And I felt very grounded and powerful with her. And I could feel this exchange of energy between the two of us when she would come around to each of us. And I felt that she and I were very connected during ceremony. Um, and I think she was just a really grounding force in terms of the whole experience because it is so disorienting and not everyone experiences it the same way. So some people didn't have any visuals at all whatsoever. And I was extremely sensitive to it because I am very sensitive already to everything. So yeah, back to day two. Day two was better for me. I took the medicine, it kicked in. It was this similar kind of feeling of anxiety, which I now know I think was me trying to kind of fight it and control the situation. But I think it's an unintentional control. It's like your ego just does what the ego does. So I took the tea, and then I'll just kind of go into this trip because there was meaning there. So I'm shrunk down to size and I'm being met with these like creatures. They were like these muddy goblin esque things. They didn't scare me at all, but I could they smelled like earth. And I was really little and I'm underground and ants, like literally, I can see ants and bugs and things crawling, and they were bigger than me. So I'm like microscopic, right? And these creatures are talking to me, and everything they say is in threes. So they would be like, come here, come here, come here. Look, look, look. Like everything had a three to it. And they were pointing at things, and they would zoom in and zoom out. And at one point, I was like down looking up, and then I was up looking down. And they were teaching me the importance of seeing things from other perspectives. So I think it's interesting because in my second mushroom trip, that indigenous man who rose up from the ground up, who was holding the weight of the world on his back, was also teaching me about changing my perspective on definitions. So I have to believe that these two things correlate in my life, and it's an important life lesson that I'm learning. So these muddy little gremlin esque gnome type things were teaching me that, and they were telling me, hey, like before you decide to judge something, make sure you're seeing all perspectives before you like have a final say. So I thought that that was really interesting, and that was probably my biggest takeaway from ceremony number two. Ceremony number three happened after we did inner child work. So throughout the trip, there were like trip meaning time in Peru, we had different workshops set up. So there was an inner child healing, there was a massage and everything. We did different integrations. We pretty much were connected with each other at the hip the entire time. Except we did have free time, a lot of free time to journal and reflect and what have you. But yeah, ceremony number 3 was after inner child work, which really was interesting because I had asked ayahuasca to be a little nicer to me because I felt like my visuals had been sort of chaotic and confusing and very long and intense. So I personally would start tripping maybe 20 minutes after the medicine was consumed. And then I would, so let's just say for fun, it would be 9 o'clock. I would start seeing things all the way until 6:30 plus in the morning. So this was very intense for me. So yeah, night 3, I asked for it to be a little gentler, more gentle. Who knows? Never will. And it was. So the ayahuasca was showing me things that were very childlike. Any of my visuals would be like soft pastels, soft like yarn, crocheted yarn. And there were these little beings too. And they were like giggling and laughing and like, but they were also curious about me, which I thought was interesting. So part of me wondered if I was in a portal at some point or if portals were opening because these things that I were seeing were asking what I was doing there. So in another point in one of them, I saw these 2 men and they looked super old, like Gandalf the Grey, and then the other guy that has the long white hair in Lord of the Rings. Like, I'm archaic old. They had really long hair, they had long beards, and they were asking what I was doing there. And same thing with these little like yarn creatures. Like they were like, "What is she doing here? Oh, hey there, hi." And they were cute and sweet and everything, but they were also curious about me. So part of me wonders if there was a portal being opened and I was just like stepping through it, and I was like, "Hey guys, I'm late to the party," and they were like, "Who are you? We didn't invite you." But I don't know that I'll ever know. But anyway, night 3 was way better. There were also like big, so it was actually kind of cute. This like big ship came out of the sea with these like soldiers standing on the ship, and then it would show me like this intense scene, and then all of a sudden the ship turned into a toy ship, and these like really like manly men who are soldiers holding guns were wearing like Nikes. And it was just like like playing into like, yeah, we're a force to be reckoned with, but we're also wearing sneakers. And that was sort of it for night 3. By the 4th ceremony, I had been through the ringer because we also had done I think it's called a temazcal. It's like this uh, half underground, half above ground Maloka-esque structure. It's very dark, and then inside of this like structure, there's a place for hot lava rocks and steam. So it's kind of like a sauna. It's like an underground, above ground sauna, but you're in pitch black, and they close the door. And we were in that ceremony for almost 6 hours, right? We went in and it was bright sunlight. I walked out and it was like, oh, it's so dark out. So by ceremony 4, being in a sauna for almost 6 hours is wild, right? By ceremony 4, I was beat. So I didn't take as much of the ayahuasca as I had the other ceremonies. And it was still really, really, really intense in terms of my visuals. And they were still really confusing. And it would be so wild that like I would forget that I was where I was. Like my visuals felt so real. So like for example, at one point I thought I was having a face-to-face conversation with my stepdad. That was really intense for me because I realized, wait a second, he's not here. wait a minute, I'm in Peru. Wait a minute, what's going on? And then he like turned into like him, and then behind him was another hymn, and then like 50,000 hymns expanded. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot. I'm on ayahuasca in Peru. So it was just a lot. And full transparency, it was not fun at all whatsoever. There were parts of it that were really cool, and there was a lot of connection, which is something that I love and seek and crave. So I was able to connect with these amazing women, but I wasn't able to fully process all that I was receiving. So what I didn't like was how physically intense this stuff is. It is no joke at all. Like I said, not everybody's experience is going to be the same. I did not vomit every single night. I think I only did once or twice, but the sensations, the physical sensations, the nausea that came with it, the inability to eat, we had like, this villa had personal chefs that came with it, and I guess it was sort of bougie, but not, because you can't really eat. So the chefs were like incredible, and they made these beautiful meals, and it was really quite exquisite. But like, I was so sick all the time, I couldn't eat. I was like, I'll pass, I'll pass. But then other girls who were on the trip were so hungry, they were like, oh, you're not going to finish that? Can I eat your plate? So it truly impacts every single person differently. Um, but I just feel like it was a tough time for me, and it was work the entire time, and you're processing a lot. And I was doing inner child work, and it's something that I had not really done very often. And opening up to strangers was really intense and different and new, and sharing certain depths of me that I hadn't shared before, and being more open and talking about my abilities with strangers was really new and different. And although you don't know them, it's like there's this weird inner trust because you're all doing it together, and there's this like camaraderie and sisterhood. And it was just a lot, but I feel like it was beautiful. Um, the one major issue that I had was that I felt like I was unable to fully express myself. And I think it prevented me from going deeper in my experience with ayahuasca and in my trip. So, what I mean by that is, because we are all tripping together and we are all in a room together, when I was tripping with the mushrooms, I'm saying things out loud, and I'm getting things, and I'm able to kind of like be free with my words and expressive and crying loudly and just kind of getting it all out and releasing the energy. Whereas during ayahuasca, I have to respect other people are going through an experience, and it's really hard to do that and fully experience all that ayahuasca can do for you. So I think if I were to do it again, I wouldn't be able to do it with such a large group. Um, and I really don't think that, I don't know. It's tough because there's a lot to learn and a lot to be said about doing it with other people, and like you do learn a lot about yourself through um, experiences like this, and with the help of other people to kind of like help open you up. And I don't know, it just was really hard for me to feel like I could be my most authentic self during the ceremonies, because it's like I also have to respect other people's space because they're all processing things too. So it was just like a little hard for me to feel like it was, um, I don't know, I just felt like I wasn't able to fully do my thing, you know? But what I did like is that I felt, like I said, that deep connection. I made genuine friendships too. And these women are women who, despite us maybe having some differences, I will always hold them to such a high regard. And I have a lot of respect for all of these women. And they all had such fascinating backstories. And to me, it was just so cool to see how different we can all be, but have like this all common ground. And that, we're all human, and we're all going through this journey together, and we're all experiencing something together. And it's new for all of us because I was a new face. They had never met me before. So I just thought that was kind of cool. Um, and I just think that it also pushed me emotionally and mentally to places that I had never been before. And I do know that I'm resilient, and I do know that I am mentally tough for the most part. This was just a whole nother beast. I mean, I you're with people, but really this is such a solo journey, and it pushes you to just get outside of your comfort zone. And we were never forced to speak and to tell people anything. If you wanted to skip during integration, you could skip with no judgment, right? But for me, I really came there to put in the work, and I was just so determined to just like say what I needed to say, because I felt like, I don't know, that's what I personally was there for. So that was really healing for me. And I just feel like I also came home with a lot of self respect, because ayahuasca is no joke. It is medicine. It is to be respected. It is ancient. It is truthfully something that it lacks words. Like, words don't give it justice to just what it can do for someone. Um, and it's not a heal all, right? Like, you're not going there as a band-aid to fix things. Because like I said, when I was going through the ceremonies and like tripping and everything, like, it didn't make sense to me at that time what all this stuff meant. Over time, things have opened up for me. So over time, like, another thing that was inside one of my trips was like, I saw these doorways, and there were these like guards guarding the doorway, and they had these like like sword things. They're like, you can't enter, you can't enter. And I kept trying to push through the door, and they were like, nope, not yet. And I know that that was something within me, right? I'm blocking something within me, and I had to heal something within me in order for me to get to that point. But it just kept me curious after the fact. I'm like, what is behind those doors? What am I blocking? What happened to me? Which I know now, which I'll talk to you about in another video. It has a lot to do with my past life. So, my most recent past life. Anyway, um, yeah, the medicine, it didn't heal me at all, but it opened something within me. And I think that it kind of bleeds into why I chose to come to Earth this time. And yeah, we ended up hiking up a mountain on the way out. We hiked down a mountain to get there and up a mountain on the way out. And that kind of felt symbolic, right? It felt meaningful, because it was like, normally I would look at that mountain as an obstacle. Oh, I can't believe we have to hike all the way up here. But to me, I looked at it as like closure to one of the hardest weeks of my life. So yeah, would I do it again? Probably. I think likely, but it would have to be in a less restrictive place, because I just feel like the mushrooms, doing the mushrooms in, like, I've done it at my home now, right? I just am able to be louder. I know that sounds weird, but it's, for me, how I process things. And for me, because with the mushrooms, I was receiving downloads. Now, maybe on ayahuasca in a private place, my downloads would be even more intense. Maybe not. I'm not sure. But the way that the mushrooms worked for me was just overall a slightly, not slightly, much better experience. I wasn't as sick. I was able to flow, I think, and just kind of get it all out in the moment. Whereas ayahuasca, I was more confused and had to, over time, unpack what I was receiving. And it didn't come overnight. It took a long time. And even after that, I mean, I did this in like, what, 2024, I think. Even after the fact, like, within the last 6 months is when I started discovering more about my past life. 6 months to like a year. So it was like a lot. It took about a year for me to fully grasp some of the things that I was getting. So yeah, all of that to say that you should never let fear stop you from doing anything. That it can't hurt to try anything once, as long as you feel called to do it. And that it is a powerful tool, but it's not the answer. And that you have to be willing to put the work into yourself after the fact. Because for me, it was like oh, I thought I was going to get answers. I thought I was going to uncover more about myself. And I did, but I still needed more work. And I still needed time and patience and reflection, and just to never give up on yourself and to keep pushing forward. And that, we are such layered creatures, and we've all lived so many lives before this life. Like, it's nuts because we think that we've just come here one time and this is it. And we put so much gravity and weight on the way that we're living and things that we're doing. And we judge ourselves so harshly, but like, we've done this before. This ain't my first rodeo. So it's not yours either. And kind of dialing it back when you're having these moments of overwhelm, and just taking that pause and reflecting and coming back to yourself and regrounding and just trusting the process, because life unfolds before us. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So all we have is right now. And so embrace that moment that you have now, and, lean into the present. We can talk about cool things in the future. So, yeah, that was my experience with ayahuasca, and kind of how that unfolded. I sort of gave a nutshell version. I could go even more in depth, but it's not really what I tripped and saw. It's more about what the experience has taught me about myself and how I've used this knowledge to grow. So, yeah, if you have any questions or want to learn more about that, feel free to shoot me a comment or find me on Instagram, Soul Souvenirs Podcast. Again, please like and subscribe for more content, and I can't wait to see you guys next week. All right, till then.